I was recently, so I'm in the midst of purchasing a Bugatti. This kind of happened on accident. I was driving my Ferrari 812 Superfast from London back through Germany, and I saw the Bugatti sign, and I wanted to go in there to look at them, and they wouldn't let me in because there's too many shit munchers who come and pretend they want to buy Bugattis. Shit munchers come and go, oh, I want to buy a Bugatti, and really they're just wasting everyone's time and they don't really actually want to buy anything. So that annoyed me. They thought I was a shit muncher. So I was like, I'm not a shit muncher, Google me, I'm fucking rich. I convinced them I was a G and all the cars I have, blah, blah, blah. And then they finally put me down with someone who's important, which was the head of regional sales for Bugatti in Europe. Blah, blah, blah. I accidentally ended up buying a Bugatti. So it's a process and you have to go through a bunch of crap to actually get the car. But one of those things is test driving today. You have to go and drive the cars. You have to prove you're competent. I'm sure you can get away with it if you're like an Arab sheikh or a billionaire oligarch, but people like me, if we want to order one, we have to prove we can drive it. I went, and in between the driving test days, there's these dinners at night, and you're sitting around with all the other Bugatti owners. And I realized something which is really, really important, because people, I mean, I've been to a lot of high-level events and a lot of high-level dinners, sat with a lot of rich people, blah, blah, blah. But when you go to a Bugatti dinner, it's interesting because you know everybody there is extremely rich, but they're all from different backgrounds. There's some people who are just daddy's money, some people who have made their own money in real estate, some people who have made their own money doing X, Y, Z, then you have the Bugatti guys themselves who are trying to sell cars and work for the brand, and they have a very unique life. Of course, if you work for Bugatti, you have a very unique life. And I realized that 90% of the conversations that were taking place at this dinner were simply stories. So the guy who sold the Bugattis was telling stories of the time he was selling a Bugatti in Bahrain, and the sheikh thought it'd be funny to lock him in his tiger's cage. The other guy who was buying a car along with me was an older guy, and he was telling the story of the time he went into East Germany during communism in the 70s. And then I'm telling my stories, like you've seen on Tate's speech, of getting robbed in Jamaica.
I've been to Jamaica once in my life, and I will never go there again. And I know Jamaica's a dangerous place, but whatever. I'm a dangerous guy. A bullet probably wouldn't kill me. 5 might, but I can take 1. So I get in the car. He says, what's your name? I said, Andrew. And I go, you? And he goes, Grim. He goes, I party with you all night. I was like, okay, fine. So by saying, yeah, I like that, I agree Grim's going to come party with me. So he pulls up at this club. It's the best club in Jamaica, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we start driving up this dirt hill. We're driving up this hill for like 10 minutes. Dirt track hill in the middle of the forest on both sides. And I didn't clock instantly, maybe it's because I had a few drinks, but then I clocked and thought, this motherfucker's about to rob me.
With a sex party.
So I'm in Cannes in the French Riviera. So knowing what I know now, what basically happened is I got selected by a taxi driver to be one of the bulls, like one of the big bad boy who fuck all the women. So we're sitting there, and as the couples would come in, like a man would walk in with his wife and start introducing, I thought he was introducing himself to people, but no, he was introducing his wife to people. It clocked. I was like, ah, okay, I see what's going on. And then in the corner, there was a door, and up the door to depravity, there was bedrooms. None of this is 1% appealing to me. I do not find this sexually attractive or arousing in any regard. I just want to get out of here in one piece.
Or the Transnistria, all the crazy things I've been through.
Problem is, on that overnight train, I nearly got robbed. That train is completely mafia run. Me and my brother in Ukraine, we gotta get out. So we're like, how the fuck do we get out? All the planes are booked for another week. We don't want to stay in Ukraine for another week. So we're going from taxi driver to taxi driver saying, can you drive us to Romania? And it turns out that Ukrainians at the time, which has now changed, I believe, needed a visa to get into Romania. So it's very difficult to find a taxi driver with a visa who was prepared to do a fucking 18-hour drive at a whim. Eventually, we meet a guy who knows a guy who has a visa to go into Romania, and he's a very good driver. He's an ex-rally driver, and he's going to drive you. And we're like, well, thank fuck, let's go. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. We're on the border of Ukraine. We're chilling. I see someone outside the car, blacked out, head to toe black. Anyway, all of a sudden, car stops. Get out of the car, get out of the car. You hear all these people getting out of the car. Me and Tristan look at each other like, for fuck's sake. Like, we should have known better.
And it turns out that at the highest echelons of society, you will always be liked and you'll always be able to fit in if you have an interesting story and you can tell it well. The thing is about most people is most people don't have interesting stories, and even if they do have a story which could be interesting, they can't tell it. They're not very good at storytelling in general. So they can't portray the emotions involved. They can't portray the fear or the humor or whatever else. But That was my observation. I kind of always knew this to be true, but I sat there and after 3 hours of dinner, I realized all we did was basically take turns telling cool stories. And this is what rich people, cool people, interesting people who live interesting lives do. They have stories to tell. And inside of the War Room, which is my private network, I was speaking to the War Room guys and I said, okay, tell me your best story. Not only to see what their story is, but also to see how they tell it. And it turns out that if you're ever looking to reach the higher echelons of life, if you're ever looking to be around very important people, if you ever want to feel respected amongst the most financially affluent individuals in the world, you need to not only be able to listen, of course, and have some kind of reasonable input to an insane story about being locked in a tiger's cage while trying to sell one of the Bahrainian princes a Bugatti, you also need to have a story which rivals that. So if you're sitting here watching this, my question is, what is your best story? And I'm actually interested in hearing your best story.